Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the podcast. I've got a beautiful guest with me today, a high achiever in my eyes. I'm looking forward to chatting about high performance, mindset, health and fitness, all the above. Just to go through some of her achievements, quit a job that she wasn't happy with and spent 3 months traveling Europe, came back and started a coaching business in an insanely saturated industry that I'm well aware of. I've been able to make it through the lockdowns and be able to impact people in a very meaningful way. She's helping women to feel empowered, love themselves, and treat their bodies and minds with respect, educating people how to live a sustainable, healthy lifestyle. Career title is an online PT nutritionist and mindset coach, and absolutely changing fucking lives. Vision is going through figuring out, I guess, what direction she's wanting to go in life, more centered around mindset, helping clients with their own personal self-development and stepping into their higher selves. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the beautiful, incredible Beck Johnson. Thank you for joining.
Round of applause.
Round of applause. Give it up to whoever's listening. Beck,
Yeah.
uh, as I normally do at the start of my podcast, please let us know your story. I actually don't know your story, so I rather enjoy people's stories because obviously speaks to who they are and the beliefs and the mindset that they've got to this day. So I would love to hear firsthand your story.
Perfect. Well, I'm Beck. I'm almost 30, and so I'm still holding on to my 20s.
Hold on to it.
Hold on to those years. But I'm an online coach now. I used to PT, but we moved to the Gold Coast, and I just decided just to fully turn the business to being online. Going back, I've got 4 siblings, so I actually have quite a large family. So 3 sisters, 1 brother. My parents split up when I was younger, so we've got a bit of a mix, step and half in there. So I grew up with my mum, and that was, now looking back, we are just like, yeah, that relationship was actually toxic. I'm sure everyone has some understanding that having a toxic parent can either make or break you. And I feel like that actually made us who we are now. It was not the path that we wanted to follow along on. But growing up, just pretty much like standard. Honestly, I'm just going to dive a little bit deeper here. I was bullied through primary school, changed schools, and then actually like drifted into, I guess, like the more like cool, popular kids. Like it was coming into like when you were weird and it was okay to be weird. So like I was kind of like accepted. It was real weird. Like, but it was just like, to me, I was like new dynamic, new crew. Um, High school was awesome. I didn't actually enjoy high school itself, but I enjoyed like the social aspect. And that's where I feel I came out of my shell. Post high school, I honestly had no fucking idea what I wanted to do with life. I went from anything to everything, and then I would have like literally so many breakdowns because my parents were like, you need to study, you need to go to work, like you need to do this. I ended up getting a job for a company that was working in like hospitality. So I moved myself up through the ranks there, and then got promotion after promotion, with ended up being support sales. So that was like sales rep, but like to like a supervisor kind of thing. That was all the way in the city. And then I ended up getting a job for a big financial bank. I ended up working there and fucking hating it. Towards the end, I was just literally running myself to the ground. I was working at the bank. Then I was working for F45. So I just studied to do my PT. I just finished counseling. And so I was studying 2 courses at once, working like 3 fucking jobs. And I was like, I am so fucking burnt out here. And I was like, something has to change. One of my girlfriends was moving to Europe for 6 months, and she just goes to me, she's like, what are you actually doing? She's like, why don't you just come over for a bit? And I was like, well, that's all I needed. So literally we spoke on the Monday. That afternoon I went for my like remedial massage, and then that afternoon I'd gone into, I think it was like student flights or something, and I said, this is what I want to happen. Booked a one-way ticket, and literally 9 weeks later I was on a flight to Europe. Then I backpacked. Well, I would say I didn't even have a backpack. I had a suitcased around Europe for 3 months. Got homesick literally halfway through. I am such a creature of habit and love my routine. I miss my family and friends. But I ended up going to Bali for 2 weeks. like on the way home, got myself back into a routine, finished up a few things, and I put on like about 10 kilos being in Europe just from like drinking, partying, eating
Enjoying life.
whatever, enjoying life, not actually training as consistent as I was. Went to Bali for 2 weeks and just got myself back into my normal routine, training, eating well, and then came home and hit the ground running with getting back into like life itself. So that's when I started actually face-to-face PTing. I wasn't working out of like F45 anymore. And then for the last like 4 years, 3 years, 3.5 years, it's just been like PT and real heavy into the fitness industry. Became a nutritionist as well, so studied that. That was probably the good thing about COVID is I literally started studying that, and like all the lockdowns happened, so I could just literally shift my focus into getting studies done, became qualified, and then we came out. I was like, what the actual hell? Um, but that's pretty much me in a little nutshell of like a wrap up. Obviously, there's a lot of big events that have happened in there, but if I can give you a quick little summary, that's it.
Thank you for sharing. Incredible. I would love to know. I know health and fitness is such a big part of your life. I'm curious where that I guess started from. Were you fit quite younger? You did mention bully. You got bullied when you were during school. Was that
Yeah.
around your health, around your image, around you just being you? Sometimes you just get targeted for no reason. So
You just get
um,
targeted as a kid. I was always really skinny as a kid. So like I was always a little bit into fitness. Like I was probably that person who's like, oh, I like to see how far I can run, that kind of thing. Like we used to play netball on a Saturday, and that was probably as far as like my sporting actually went. But like I was just picked on just for honestly being different and being weird. And I was more of like a nerdier kid where I wouldn't mind being
epic.
like
Represent.
it's so funny. Like looking back now, you're like, that's what you exactly want in life. When you get like closer to 30s, you're like, you want to be that nerdy kid because then it sets you up for like later in life. But yeah, I used to be like the nerdy kid. So I was like getting good grades, and then like I just got picked on literally for that. Um, in saying that though, like looking back, I didn't actually go to the best school. It was the state school, and the area was just fucking bogan. Like I'm pretty sure half the kids in my primary school have gone to jail now. So peace out. Thanks, parents. But I just always had like I guess a drive for it, if that makes sense. And I was always looking into bikini comps when I was like 16, 17. I'm like, what are these and where are they and how do you do these things? Um, but I was always quite, I guess, reserved and shy. And that just came down to, I guess, the boyfriends I had and the friends I was hanging around with. But then one of my girlfriends started getting more into it too. So we kind of researched it. But then there was this like, I guess there was something in me that was like, there's something that I need to give back to people. And how can I give back to people to help people? And it wasn't just health and fitness, like training people. It was more also like mindset, because I could see where mine was drifting and then what I was doing to help it. So I
Can
just
you tell
had like, I
me?
don't know.
Can you tell me
Yeah.
what you were doing to do that? So can you, when you said, so it wasn't going the right direction, sorry
Yeah.
if I've gotten this wrong, but your mindset was not maybe going the wrong directions, going the wrong way, and then you were able to turn it around and change that. Is that what you just said?
Yeah, so I was just like, I guess, hanging around the wrong people and dating the wrong guys. And um, I got, like, I said this in our podcast as well, but I don't know who else is there. I got diagnosed twice with depression, and I didn't want to take the medication. I thought that, like, you can't just give me something, but not give me something to do beforehand. And then that's when I started going to the gym. And I was like, well, I feel really good after I go to the gym. Like, why is that so? And then I looked further into it. I'm like, well, when you exercise, you get endorphins and like you get that feel good. So I was, rather than just being like, okay, I'll just fix the problem, I was like, what can I do to fix that problem so that problem doesn't come back? So that
Mm.
problem is a minimum. So that's when it literally was like shift. And I was like, well, there must be other people out there who are hanging around the wrong people, and then like that energy is affecting them. And then also, if I was training and working out and I felt good about myself, not just like my external, but my internal as well. Like I had more energy and then like I felt like I was eating proper then and stuff like that. Like I've been through every phase. Like I went through a phase where I was clean eating only. Like I wouldn't eat anything that was like processed. Like my friends would go get Maccas and I was like, no, 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 like I'm not eating that. But yeah, like everyone goes through that phase, but you're just like, no, I can't put that in my body. But now I've got like a better balance. Like still eat whole foods, but I still have those soul foods. Like loves a good almond croissant.
Love it. How did you get to that? I've been in the fitness industry a long time as well, and I find like some people, whether it's just their upbringing or just I guess their nature, they can adapt pretty quickly. You give them a goal, and they'll do whatever it takes. They'll eat well, they'll adapt, and they're the ones that they're probably, I don't know, in my opinion, maybe 20% of clients that I've dealt with, but I guess the
Yeah.
80%, they have the challenges where they'll binge out, they'll lie about their macros, they'll lie about their
Mm,
training. And I guess for you, I think from what you said, you've gone through and you've experienced kind of the extremes of both end. You've super fit, super looked after with your training, with your nutrition, having now balance, which is a great thing to hear as well. What were Can you tell us a little bit more about, I guess, what you did to go from probably the worst, maybe take us back to when you're at the worst and whatever that was for you, and then how were you able to get to now where you can even have balance, you look great, you train hard, you eat well, and you're not so hard on yourself with it?
So my worst was probably I would have been 21. So I was like only clean eating, just kind of like following like what was on, I guess, like Pinterest or the internet and like girls on Instagram. And I actually had surgery got my boobs done, and my surgeon said, you need to put on weight or like we just won't be able to do it. I got down to 49 kilos when I weighed in on the morning of my surgery. And that was the lowest I've ever seen the scales get to. In my mind, I was fine, I was healthy, but I didn't realize how stressful I was, like how stressed I was in the job that I was in. I was just like underpaid, overworked. That right there, I was like, oh, okay, something needs to happen, because if that is reading on the scales, because I just wasn't weighing myself, if that's reading on the scales, that's not healthy for a person, especially someone my height as well. So get my boobs done. And then it was just doing more research into things. Oh, you can actually, you know, eat more. And then I realized what protein does for the body. And then when I started training with a coach, he taught me how to track my macros. And it was more like, eat really good. And then if you have leftover calories, you can include, say, that caramella koala that you really wanted to eat, or hit your protein, because you'll start to see your shoulders take shape. And then I actually was getting like really bad head spins. So I would like put my head down, then I would like put it up, and I'm like, oh my God, I need a faint. And it's because I was simply under eating. But in my mind, I was eating perfectly fine. But I wasn't eating enough. And I can actually eat a lot of calories now. And to me now, seeing that, I'm like, holy shit, I was so under eating, not even realizing. But it was me noticing how my body was performing, and then how my energy was performing, how my stress levels were, and then how my sleep improved as well. So when I started seeing all that, I was like, well, this is making a difference, and my life has actually improved just from making these changes.
And how do you, I guess I'm trying to picture, because what I'm picturing right now is there's so many people that struggle with their mindset around food or training or both. And I guess what would be your way? I'm sure you probably do this with your clients that you have. What are like the most common, I guess, problems and solutions that you see most with people when it comes to probably just having a sustainable, balanced health? Because some people's got the measuring stick's different for everyone. Some people want to be 5% body fat. Some people want to be 15. Some people are happy at
Yeah.
20. So, but regardless of that, it's probably for me, I find just sustaining that in an enjoyable way is one of the more challenging things for a lot of people, because you can do it. You can be super strict and I guess restrict yourself from all the enjoyments, and generally that won't be sustainable. So I'm just curious, what's the most common problems you found or challenges people have when it comes to finding balance, and what are some tips or tools that you've been able to do with your clients or yourself to help people get to that point?
One of the most common ones that come in is a lot of like diet culture around eating really low calories. But then when you get the person who eats really low calories, you'll notice that they binge for like 3 days because they've been literally starving themselves. So you'll have like, I've got clients come in, they're like, oh, I only eat like 1,200, 1,300 calories. And I'm like, fuck, that's so low. Like, even in some of my comp preps, I've never actually hit that target. And people are comparing themselves to someone who does compete and they're like, oh yeah, but like such and such does it and she looks like this. But I'm like, you're not actually achieving that if you're diving deep into those calories and then you're binging on like 3,000-4,000 calories for half the week anyway. But the way I see it is, if you can bring a client's like calories up and they can enjoy the food and they have enjoyment in their day, and then they can actually fuel the workout, fuel actually using your brain power at work and things like that. It's shifting into that being like, rather than looking at something as calories and losing weight, you're putting the thought into, this is like to fuel my workout, to feel better with my sleep, to actually have a libido, like, and all these other things, rather than the focus being like, oh, I'm eating this because I need to lose weight. It's, oh, I'm eating this because I'm training in an hour and then I know that I need that fuel and I'll burn more, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
There is a lot of I guess diet culture that we are trying to change at the moment, that have come from like, don't eat carbs, only eat fats, protein will make you bulky. Like, there is so much that has been drilled into people's heads that you actually have to change. And if you've told something for your whole life, it is so hard to get that out of your head.
What are some of the biggest myths that you just mentioned? A couple of them, like can't eat.
Yeah.
Like I heard the one like you can't eat past 7 p.m. You got
Oh
like
yeah.
I've heard a few. So what are the most ones that you see?
Oh, definitely. Oh, I'm eating too many carbs, so carbs make me fat. I had one where, oh, I went over my sugar intake because of my fruit, but then the person was having like sugar in their coffee and like processed foods. And I'm like, it's not like, there's so many different types of sugar. And I'm like, it's not the sugar in the fruit that you need to be worried about. You should be eating your fruit. But I'm like, it's just funny how people will quickly get rid of fruit out of their diet, but then they will keep the sugar in their coffee in.
Yeah.
Like, to me, I'm like, that's, hang on, wait.
Hang on a second.
Wait a minute. So that was a good one. Yeah, can't eat fruit because of the sugar. Oh, damn it. I'm just like really trying to think, because like, yeah, there are some like whack ones out there that you just have come in. Oh yeah, I don't want to eat protein because I don't want to get bulky. I can't take creatine because that will also make me bulky. And I'm like, yeah, there's been some like odd things that have like come through. So
What are the foundational rules to get a great result? Like if say average Joe just like, look, I don't want to go extreme. I just want to look after my health, be relatively good and have good energy, have a good quality of life. What are your sort of basic fundamentals for the average person listening to this? If they just want to look after their health, what are your basics?
oh, look at your habits first. Look at your habits, see what you're doing every day, because if you aren't doing what you want to be, like if you aren't doing what you should be doing to be achieving your goals, and you're just sitting around the house and you're eating potato chips and stuff like that, well, that's your habits right there. That's not a healthy life. Consistency with your diet, with your training, with your sleep. We are creatures of habit. We love routine. So if you're going to bed at 2 a.m., but then you're waking up at 10, and then some nights you're going at 11 and stuff like that, you're only getting 3 hours sleep, 5 hours sleep and stuff like that. That's not consistent. Like, have a look at those little things. And sleep is so vital as well for a healthy life, because if you don't get enough sleep, you're seeking bad foods to get that quick energy hit and things like that. Focus on like the simple things. Like, everyone overcomplicates it as well. Like, the simplest things make everything work. Focus on protein, focus on your fruit and veg. After that, put in the soul foods so you're not going mental. Like, we should be having a source of protein in every meal. So breakfast, lunch, dinner. If you can just be like, okay, breakfast, I'm having, I don't know, eggs with a protein shake kind of thing. There's your protein. Lunch is like chicken breast. Dinner, you can have steak. You're pretty much going to hit your protein intake for your day, and then making sure that you're getting two serves of fruit and then 5 veggies. like once you like hit those, like you're actually already like above where you were, and you're actually looking after yourself so much better than what you actually were. A lot of us don't actually hit the 5 and the 2. Like
Mm.
the statistics in Australia for people actually hitting it is actually so fucking low. But if people just focused on those things and they got those like foundations down, like you would just see such an improvement in your energy and like your body composition as well, because you start replacing things. So you might replace those like chips with like a bowl of salad or something like that. Like, not saying that you always have to be eating salad, but swap things around a little bit. Like, add in those roast veggies.
Just run these down.
Yeah.
Fire,
Yeah.
fire tips, girl.
Yeah.
I would love to chat. I guess your experience in comps. I guess I'd love to hear. Firstly, I guess your journey going into the comp world, because I find, and I mean, no disrespect for anyone in I guess in the comp world, but I've had clients before where they'll come down and they've either done a comp or going to do a comp. There's one in particular. She came down and she'd done a comp about 3 years ago, and like she was so fixated on getting back to that level and trying to sustain that. And she was
Mm.
so hard on herself, and her mindset was really roasted because of it. I know that's not the case for everyone, but I guess I'd love to hear your experience from it from a mental health side of things, because I can see it as something that shapes someone and really pushes them and sets new standards for them. But I can also see some people that have gone through it and they don't really come out the other side as well as they thought they were. So I'd love to know your experience from a you doing it yourself, your journey with it, the pros and the cons of it. Yeah, because I've heard mixed reviews. So I want to hear from someone who's gone through it.
Yeah, comps are like it's straightforward and not for the like the faint of heart. The last like 8 to 6 weeks are fucking tough. Like, you should not be walking in to do a bodybuilding comp if you cannot fucking handle it. You think about it. You're getting up
I
on
like
stage
this.
and you are half fucking naked to have about 6 to 8 people judging you on paper, let alone a whole audience to be judging your physique. And not just physique, the way that you walk on that stage, the way that you pose your body, your hair, your makeup, the color of your bikini. So if you cannot walk out into public in a bikini and have strangers judging you, like, getting on that stage is not just for fun of it. Like, there is actually people, and I like to say I am that person that takes this really serious. I'm a very competitive person. Competitive, not just being like, I'm going to beat her, but like competitive, I'm going to beat her at myself. Like, I'm going to beat the last physique that I had on that stage. I'm going to do better in my posing than what I have in previous years. And I haven't competed in, it'll be coming up 3 years. So I'm in comp prep at the moment, but it's been 3 years since I've actually stepped on a stage. And I wanted to make sure that I was so fucking ready to be on that stage again. Mentally, if you asked me to go on stage a year ago, I would have said no, and I did. Everyone's like, when are you competing next? And I said, nah, not for me, because I was in a point in my life where I was just enjoying eating out, and I didn't want to give that up just yet, and I knew it. So I knew if I walked into that prep, I would be that person that's always like complaining that I'm not eating food, or complaining that people are eating food around me, or I don't have like enough sleep, and oh, I hate this cardio and stuff like that. Honestly, I've been in prep about 6 or 7 weeks now, and I've been enjoying every moment of it. There was one day last week I was so hungry. It was like a rest day, my calories were lower, and I was just like go, go, go with work. So I was just like ravenous, and I was like, oh my God. And it was like raining. So I was like, oh my God, I can't handle this. But when you're in prep, you have to handle it. You have to be like, look, I can't eat until my next meal. Have a fucking cup of tea and a bowl of cement and harden the fuck up and get on with it. Like,
I like it.
you don't get the option to be like, oh, I'll just have an extra snack or something like that. Your coach will give you protocols and you need to fucking hit them. Like, you don't get the, oh, I just won't work out today because, I have an ingrown toenail or something like that. Like, people have the weakest excuses to not get their asses to the gym or to do their cardio or to get their steps. Like, you can't miss a beat when you're in comp prep. So, like, that is like one thing mentally you need to be prepared for moving into comp prep. yes, it can be a fucking good time, and most of the time it is really fun if you enjoy this sort of journey. Like if you enjoy hitting certain like targets and you're okay with, say, the scale's not moving for a week, but you know that next week it can possibly drop down. Um, I would say that you need to have a lot of experience in the gym as well before you actually progress into doing a comp prep. Knowing your body, knowing that, like, for instance, I know that my weight goes up around my period. That can be the biggest mental head fuck as well when your scales aren't moving. The other week it wasn't moving, and then my coach was like, "It's fine. You periods due. Here's a refeed." And then after my period, literally the scales dropped. I looked so much tighter as well. So it's also knowing how your body moves and things like that. So you do mentally have to be so prepared before you come into a prep. Post prep is probably a lot harder.
Why is that?
So because you're coming out, you don't have that end goal anymore. Because like right now, I know, okay, I've got 14 and a half weeks till I step on that stage. I need to be like 100%. When you get off that stage, you're like, okay, what am I doing now? You don't have that, like, I guess, that barrier that's stopping you from going, oh, I'll just go get an almond croissant and banana bread right now. Like, you don't have that barrier that's just like you need to pull it in. So a lot of people do feel a little bit lost, like when they come out of like that comp prep. They're like, well, I don't know what I'm doing now. And now that you have a lot more flexibility with your diet and things like that, that's when a lot of binging happens. And if you don't have control of that before and during your comp prep, post comp prep is where it does get like really, I guess, disgusting. I've had a blowout in my off season before. It was just because I had restricted, came out. I had a lot of stress in my life. And that was the first time I've actually turned to food for comfort, because I'd been like, oh, well, that didn't affect my body composition. I'll eat something else. That didn't affect. And then it just like, boof, hit me. My last comp prep, when I did reverse out, I did it so friggin' well. I'm really proud of how I did it. And then walking into this prep, I felt like I was at a good body fat level and I could walk into it like and be like, sweet, we can drop weight.
Powerful shit. Where did
Yeah.
your drive come? What was the drive or the purpose? Why did you get what was your goal for doing a comp? Like obviously get on stage and that's the end that's the end kind of event. What was your reasoning for getting in there for the first place? What made you want to get into it?
Um, honestly, it was probably like now looking back at it, like I've always had like the, I guess, like inkling to do it, like because I'd always like searching it. But it was actually my ex who put me in front of my old coach, because Jess had actually started competing at the same time as well.
Yeah.
So she'd done a comp like 2 months before, maybe about 2 months before. So I was in comp prep when she'd done her first comp, and then we were both just like, oh my God, what is this? It was just the training aspect and then showing off your physique on that stage, like almost like a show, I guess. And like it's so weird to think that like I've gone from like this shy kid to like this like show pony in a bikini on a stage. Like I just loved that feeling, and I felt like it just suited me. And as much as like it sounds so weird, but I felt like I just had the bikini aesthetics. Like I have a small waist, I had the build for it. I do have the glutes, and then my brain was just like, well, you suit it, and you really like to train like this. You really prefer to look like this sort of aesthetics, and it kind of suited. So I kind of floated into it, and the drive is literally my competitive side. So I feel like I've always been somewhat competitive in different things, and then I guess because you have such a passion about it, your competitive side comes out as well. And then your drive to do better and better, because it's only you versus you on that stage when you think about it.
Yeah.
Because I'm comparing to old me. Obviously, you're going for a first place, but you've trained so hard, for so long by yourself, that you just want to give your absolute best on that day.
Where does I know you just said you've always been competitive. There was like the part where you like have a bit of cement and harden up. I love that. Where does that competitiveness or just mindset, because I know people that are competitive that aren't like that there's people that are competitive but they break under pressure quite easily. Like there's a different level of what you just said before and your mindset around this. Where does that come from?
Honestly, I think that comes from like my teenage years of, honestly, it's like, okay, short story. It was pretty much in my childhood, it was like, do it yourself or no one's going to fucking do it for you. Um, like that was like living with my mum. It was just like, you have to do shit yourself or it just fucking won't happen. So like, I have to say I have a very, very strong relationship with my dad, but that was probably with my mum. Now looking back, you don't realize at the time, but now looking back, you're just like, holy fuck, that's where it comes from. Like, you can't cry over something and expect someone to come and fucking save you if you're not going to do it yourself.
Yeah.
So if you want something done, do it yourself, because you can't expect someone to just like, okay, it's fine, like I'll do this for you. Like, we're all actually just getting shit done ourselves in life.
How would someone develop more of that? Like, say someone, they're like, look, I really want to do a comp, but I know I give up. I set things and I can't handle the pressure and I break and I haven't got that formidable mentality that you do. How could someone develop that?
I would tell them to start looking at how like they talk to themselves. Like,
I know.
you've just come to me and you've already told me that you can't do it. Why are you telling me that you can't do it? Like, what's actually stopping you? You've actually just told yourself before you've even started that you're going to fail at it. Like, why? If you start telling yourself, oh, I've got this, like, this is like, I can do this, I'm resilient, then you're going to start showing up as that person. So you need to start showing up as the person that you want to be. You can't just be like, oh, no, I'm weak. Oh, I love my food too much. I would binge on my food. Yeah, you will, because you just told yourself you're going to binge on your food. So you need to build that in your like in your head, that you are that person that you want to show up as.
You, from obviously following you on socials, I know self-development is a big part of you. Like, I saw your story about what book to read next. And I voted for Joe Dispenza.
Yeah, I started.
Does that play I know it would play a part. So what part does self-development add to you, not just from a fitness level, just from maybe as a life, from relationship to friendships to family to training to mind, like all of that? How has self-development played its part in that?
Massive, like absolutely massive. I reckon I've probably dived the deepest I have in like the last 3 years. And it's just made my connection with people a lot deeper. I see people in a different light, if that makes sense. Like, I can connect with people and be like, we're going to have really good conversations, and just finding your people and floating to them, and then knowing when a relationship or a friendship is not healthy. Like, I can see people, I'm like, I just don't see it's clicking, and knowing that I should stop wasting my time there. And this being able to call myself out on my own bullshit. Like, I feel like I can be so much better at calling myself out on my own bullshit, because I was telling, well, it was just like, I was procrastinating and I'm like, is this serving you a fucking purpose or not?
Oh, what a question.
Yeah.
Guys, listen to that one again. What a fucking question. Keep going.
Yeah. And just like, you just kind of look at it like, well, if I'm not doing it for me, then how else is this going to get done? Like, who do I want to be in like 10 to 20 years time? Do I still want to be the person that I was when I was 15? You know what I mean? Like, we all are consistently changing. And if people say that you aren't changing or you don't have to grow, that's when I see the biggest block. Like, I had someone say to me, I'm so sure of myself. And I was like, someone sure of themselves would never fucking say that, because I'm not sure of myself yet. Like, I know who I am, but I know that there's more in me that I'm still discovering. Like, we will never fully understand or discover all of us, but consistently, just every day, learning that little bit more and that little bit more and going a little bit deeper. So, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. You spurred about 5 questions. First one is what, first of all, do you have any habits or do you have any things that you do to self-develop? Obviously, books is a fantastic thing. Do you do that
Yeah.
consistently? Like for people that aren't watching this, behind Beck, she has a couple of affirmations on her window. She has, I am enough. I can't see the rest of them, but I know there's, I am
Uh,
strong, I am beautiful, I am abundant.
yeah.
So you've got things like that. Do you have any like just sort of like daily hacks or daily tips that people can do to start develop themselves and condition themselves, like what you're saying?
Yeah, so I love a good routine, but I'm just going to like call myself out here. I'm actually so slack. I haven't meditated. Actually, no, I meditated the other morning, but I used to meditate every single morning and I just haven't lately just because it's been so cold outside and I get into, I've meditated in different ways than what I normally would. So I would go for my morning walk and that's where I meditate. So I'm actively meditating. But meditation is a big one. I go to yoga on a Monday night, and to me as well, that is my meditation because my teacher is he's so brilliant at like making you really go deep inside your mind. That's another really good one. Journaling. So normally I'll journal like every couple of days or when I really feel like it. Should do it almost every day. And it doesn't have to be like dear diary, blah, blah, blah. It can be like, today I want to show up as I feel I am. Like it can be anything. It can be short, it can be long, it can be grateful points. One thing I am really big on is making sure I am grateful for 3 things every day. I have a diary and it's got like 4 points in it. So I normally write them in there. And then even on my like daily planners, it's 3 points in there that I'm like,
what are you grateful for today?
What am I grateful for today? This podcast, being on this podcast, this
Epic.
having this relationship, to be on this podcast, a good coffee. I had a really good coffee this morning from Pretty Handsome, and also just the sunshine because we've had so much rain on the Gold Coast. So you just gotta be grateful.
Went for a walk. I took the dog for a walk this morning and soaked in some sun. So I attest to that. Any more tips? These are fantastic. Meditate, yoga, journaling, practicing gratitude. Obviously, I'm assuming health and fitness would tie into that as well. Look, training consistently.
Eating well and eating well to your body. So
can you define that a little bit more? Like, because that.
Sorry, I was like, it sounds so silly, but so many people eat things that affect their body so much. I'm like, well, why are you eating it? Like, if you have a reaction to dairy, stop eating dairy. So I try and make sure that like my diet is predominantly whole foods. So like, I'm pretty stuck standing with my diet. People are like, give us your food. I'm like,
what have you eaten today? What does today's?
I had a bowl of oats this morning, as per usual. So bowl of oats with chia seeds and protein powder with a banana and strawberries on top. Oh, and peanut butter, natural peanut butter as well, guys. Stay away from the fake shit. And then for lunch, I probably just honestly have chicken and pumpkin with some vegetables. Dinner will be steak and veggies.
Ooh, delicious. If you don't follow Beck, we'll plug your Instagram at the end. She normally has a tasty meal on her story, which I generally react to. Any other tips? These are fantastic. Like
reading.
I like the practical stuff.
Reading, I read for about 20 to 30 minutes before bed every night, and that's generally when I get my self-development in. If I can, on the weekends, I'll just grab my book and go lay in the sun and read as well. But that is literally where you will learn so much, especially podcasts as well. So on my morning walks, it's always a podcast. When I'm driving, podcasts. When I'm at the gym, no, that's music time. But reading and podcasts, because these things are free as well. Like you don't have to pay hundreds of thousands of dollars for it. Like you can honestly go to like a friend's place, borrow a book, listen to a podcast. Like it's actually insane how many resources that we have out there.
Epic. Anything else? Any other hot tips from Beck for developing, I guess, your mindset, self-development as well?
Well, if you want to get really further deep into it, I would say start noticing your thoughts.
Ooh, I like that one.
Yeah. So I heard this thing the other day and it was like, our thoughts actually aren't real. And it's so true. Like when you think about it, you're like, I'm thinking that I'm in a pink house right now. Well, my house isn't pink.
Yeah.
Like that's not real. Or I've got, $100 million sitting in my bank. Well, that's not actually also real. I'm fat. That's also not real. These thoughts aren't real. So when you start hearing these negative thoughts in your head, just tell yourself that's not real. Because I'm just making it up inside my head. That's not real. So acknowledge it. Cool, negative. Why am I thinking that way? Okay, I get it. Replace it.
I'm reading the book How to Do the Work at the moment, and it's
brilliant.
Done it? Big
Yeah,
fan?
done it. Yeah, big
And
fan.
it's just being conscious of your thoughts, just being like questioning them, like where did that come from? It's
Yeah.
like I'm not good enough. Well, when did you decide that was true? When
Yeah,
did you pick up when did
exactly.
you pick up that belief? And a belief is a thought grounded in a lived experience. So you think you're not good enough, and someone broke up with you, and that reaffirms that you're not good enough. So but
Yeah.
it's not true. You just thought it, and then you've got a confirmation bias, and your mind will find things to reaffirm the belief that you've already told yourself or the thought that you've told yourself. So I love your self development, mate. There's many more topics I'd like to know about you. I guess what's next for you? What's your passion right now, and what are you working on? Like, what's I know you obviously you're an online client, online you take online clients at the moment.
Yeah.
Uh, is that you for indefinite until further notice, or have you got a plan? What is it that you're working towards?
Yeah, definitely until further notice. I quite enjoy what I do. I don't think I will ever step out of this,
Okay.
but I am working on a few things behind the scenes at the moment. Honestly, I can talk about it now because I don't think you're going to release this
Ooh,
podcast before I release it.
I'll
But
mention
I've just developed a 6-week course called Momentum,
epic.
which is just like a little taste test of what I do, but it's without the exact calories and the exact workouts. It's honestly just to get you back into your routine, to get you back into your healthy habits, for people who have already had a coach, but then they've lost their way, but then they just need that extra accountability. So it's just for someone who's like, okay, I'm sick and tired of my bullshit. What do I need to do? Don't really want to sign up to a coach, but I want to like the accountability as well. So it will just be like ticking things off, real mini check in, without having to track calories or count calories. It will just be like, did you eat well today? Did you get your protein in kind of vibe? So that's next on the list for me. And then I've got a few mindset-y things that are in the works as well. So
Can't wait to hear about them. I think I know of one of them
yeah,
we might be chatting about at a later time.
yeah.
Beck, what do you want to be remembered for?
Just being a fucking legend. No,
A fucking legend. Hands
just
down, best answer I've had to that question. Being a fucking legend. I love it.
honestly, just for being a, a light soul, if that makes sense. Like just being a warm soul to people that have just like shifted and changed people for the better.
Mm.
And it doesn't mean making them the leanest person. It just makes them realize how good of a person they actually are.
I always think of that when people have an answer of like helping people. I always think the ripple effect of that as well. So that one person that you help or you light up, then every person they engage with in their life has a better experience. And if you do that
Yeah.
time, it's like it's a exponential impact that you make. So I find that fucking fascinating and inspiring at the same time. Beck, how would someone reach out to you if they're interested in obviously connecting, saying thank you, or just sharing thoughts, or even potentially working with you in your services? How could someone connect with you?
I am found at Beck Johnson 2 underscores on Instagram. So I'm quite regular on there.
Check out the
I'm
gram.
very social on there, but with coaching inquiries, it's the Beck project at outlook.com. So the Beck actually stands for Body Empowerment and Coaching Services.
Hey, I
So
like that. That's good.
yeah, so I was
Nice.
quite younger Beck was quite nifty with that one.
No,
Yeah, so that's pretty much where you can find me, and I think that's pretty much it with like where I'm at with like my socials and stuff like that.
epic girl. Keep being that light. Keep shining. Keep changing lives. Keep working on yourself as you always do. And look forward to connecting with you in the future, guys. For
Definitely.
everyone that's listening, thank you so much for enjoying and staying all the way to the end. Please, if you got value from it, like, comment, subscribe, send Beck a message, share it on your story, and send it to someone. Let's start the ripple effect now. Send this to someone who you think would get value from this. Love you guys. Goodbye.
Bye.